Hey, Brent Parker here. Just getting ready to do a little workout here. It's actually Thanksgiving Day, and I had a wonderful time with some friends here in Jacksonville, Florida, because most of my family is in Kentucky, except for my sister who's in Tampa, or actually Clearwater Beach. But anyway, wanted to come on real quick because something interesting happened to me last night. And it's actually the second time that something like this has happened recently where I locked my keys. I had this new clicker, right, for my garage, and I needed to program it, obviously, so it would open the garage and close the garage. So I did that, and when you do that, you get inside the garage, get up on you open up the back of the actual garage door opener that's installed in the ceiling of the garage, and you press a learn button, and then you press the button on your remote to cause it to connect. And so I did that successfully and was walking out, and I actually had actually rented that garage to a neighbor because I don't need it and they needed an extra one. And so what I did was, when I got that remote programmed, I stuck it inside the garage, and then called my neighbor and said, "Hey, next time you come to the garage, the remote that I got for you is right inside the garage. Just go ahead and pick it up." He said, "Great." Thought everything was fine. What I didn't realize is the keypad on the outside of the garage. We have a little keypad on the wall of the garage that opens the garage when you press in a code. Well, for some reason, when I programmed the keychain remote, it deprogrammed the keypad remote, and so we were unable to get into the garage. Well, come to find out, there was a little thing at the top of the garage that has a keyhole in it, and if you have that key, obviously, then you can unlock the garage manually. Well, we didn't get that key upon purchasing the condo from the previous owner. So what happened was, we ended up getting a crowbar and a hammer, a drill, and drilled out that keyhole, and we're able to get the garage open. But now I've got to buy another emergency lock thing for the garage, which hopefully won't be too expensive. It's probably going to be $50 or so. But I was talking to another neighbor of mine today who actually invited me over for Thanksgiving dinner, and was sharing that story with them, and they told me that the association, because we live in condos, actually has the master key for all of the garages. That's actually for their access in case of an emergency. So, had I just rested and calmed down and not gotten anxious about the situation, which is I think what I did to an extent, I wouldn't have made such a rash decision to tear that lock apart, which now I've got to pay to replace, right? I would have just simply thought a little bit more clearly and realized that maybe the association has a master key, which I thought they might have, but again, I was just in a hurry, and I didn't even exercise that option. So I could have called emergency maintenance or something. I don't know if anybody was really on staff because it was later in the evening, or on call. But anyway, my point is even if I had to wait till the next day, right? Because there was nothing in the garage that the neighbor that's renting the garage needed right away. Then I could have gotten that key, and everything would have been fine, and I wouldn't have been able to have to tear that lock up. Another time recently, I locked my keys in the condo, and we were on our way to church, the kids and I, and I didn't have time to figure out how to get in. It's a secure place, so I didn't know of any way to get in. So I ended up breaking a window in an inconspicuous place in the condo and climbed in the house to get the keys, and off we went to church. And then, of course, I had to come back and have that window fixed and pay for that. But at the end of the day, what happened was, when I was on my way back to Georgia that evening, taking my kids back that Sunday evening, my son opened the console of my car and found the spare key that I thought I did have in the car, because the car was not, the garage was open. We had access to the garage. The car wasn't locked or anything like that. So I had access to my car, obviously. That's how we got to church. But point is that key was in my console, right? That key was in my console. And had I just calmed down and collected my thoughts a little bit and not freaked out and trusted God more, which is really what this is all about, this video, is trusting God more. You know, knowing that He loves us, knowing that He's our loving Father, and that He cares about every need, every detail, every desire of our heart. He puts them there in the first place. And if we will just allow Him to do His work, you know, His burden is easy and His yoke is light. And what I feel I've learned from these situations where I freaked out, and there was really actually a very easy, non-abrasive, non-demolition solution, is that I wonder how many times we're doing that in life. You know, when we feel like a door is closed, right? And we know it's a door that God wants open. I knew that God wanted me in the condo that day to get to church, obviously, right? Churches, He wants us in church on Sunday, right? I knew that He wanted me to get that garage door open for my neighbor. I mean, the neighbor had already paid me rent, and I was the one that messed up and locked the garage door opener in there, so I needed to figure out a way to get it open. It was my responsibility, right? So God wanted those doors open for me, right? And I wonder how many times we stand in front of a door that we know God has put in front of us and we know is supposed to be open, but there's a barrier there. There's something there that's locking it down, or seemingly not locking it down, causing it to not be open for us. And how many times are we fretting when we see that happen? And what are we doing in our own efforts, in our own stupidity, really? You know, I mean, I don't like to use that word. I don't want to call myself stupid or you, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, in our own intellect, how many times are we leaning on our own understanding, right? Instead of making our prayer and supplication to God with thanksgiving, right? Which is what Proverbs says, lean not on your own understanding, but with thanksgiving, let your request be made known to God, something like that, okay? But here's the thing. How many times are we doing that? And then we're forcing the door open when, yeah, okay, at the end of the day, the door's open, but now we got a mess to clean up afterwards, right? Because of all the silly stuff we did to get it open. Instead of just resting in God. I believe it's rest. You know, I mean, this thing with rest is continuing to come back to me, especially since I've watched that sermon that I posted earlier on the ImpactGlobalNetwork.org blog from Bill Johnson about the resting place. And he says power comes in rest. You know, when we're resting in God, then we're moving in power. So just wanted to share that thought with you today, those silly testimonies. Man, it's something I'm learning, and hopefully it has blessed you. So God bless. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you again on the next video. Bye-bye.